Okay, are we live? Trina, hey guys. This apple's so good. Hold on. There we go. All right, beautiful people. Happy Saturday. Stop eating this apple. Hold on, I forgot my book. Levon. Let me. Here I come, y'all. Girl, the apple's so good, Levon. Oh my gosh. Jen, hi. Finally made it. You have sleep. I'm glad you're here. All right, beautiful people. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. It is December the 4th, 2021, day 318 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. And of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 986. Today, we're starting the book of Proverbs, first 3 chapters. And then we, remember, I said we was going to circle back around. You know what? What I said was the portion that Joseph Atwell sent to me, the first chapter, I said we was going to read that. But then I said we was going to also read it again when he released the third installment or the third book of the Caesar's Messiah trilogy. I figure we'll just wait for that so we can keep that all together. I mean, I could read it and give you a preview. Did it get? I don't know, but I was deciding. I was debating because we're gonna go back and we're gonna reread this little small book. Remember, before we started the Caesar's Messiah trilogy, we read this little pamphlet. It took us 2 days, but I couldn't find my printed version. Oh, I forgot y'all can't see over here. So you can get a front view. You know what? I know I'm going to have to fix this. I know this is to the side over here. I'm going to have to fix Facebook. But when I couldn't find this, I found my PDF version. Okay, Trina, you back. So the PDF version I realized was missing pages, and even while we were reading it, I was like, this is missing pages. So when I was cleaning off my nightstand, going through my little bookcase on my nightstand, it was wedged in between a couple of my bigger books that were up there. So I decided we're going to go ahead and pull it out and reread it again so we can get those 5 missing pages, right? I think it's really good. Now that we've been through Caesar's Messiah and Shakespeare's Secret Messiah, we're going to go back and read this again, and you're going to be like, oh, yep, absolutely. I get it now, right? Okay. So So let's do the Shema first. Shayla, hey girl, hey, Yahuwah is one. Yes, and thank you. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the we're gonna do the Shema chapter, which is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. What I'm gonna do, Trina, for Facebook, I noticed, let's see, it is a side view. Dana, yep, that happens. I really need to go ahead and get my, let's see if I can move it up a little bit more. I need to get my, my camera stand so I can put it right here in front of my laptop with this, so it faces the front like the laptop does. There we go. Might be a little bit better. Okay. All right, beautiful people. A call for wholehearted commitment. These are the commands, decrees, and regulations that Yahuwah your God commanded me to teach you. You must obey them in the land you are about to enter and occupy, and you and your children and grandchildren must fear the Lord your God as long as you live. If you obey all his decrees and commands, you will enjoy a long life. Listen closely, Israel, and be careful to obey. Then all will go well with you, and you will have many children in the land flowing with milk and honey, just as Yahuwah, the God of your ancestors, promised you. Listen, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, he is God alone. And you must love Yahuwah, your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I am giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you're at home and when you're on the road, when you're going to bed and when you're getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your forehead as reminders. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Yahuwah your God will soon bring you into the land he swore to give you when he made a vow to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It is a land with large, prosperous cities that you did not build. The houses will be richly stocked with goods you did not produce. You will draw water from cisterns you did not dig, and you will eat from vineyards and olive trees that you did not plant. When you have eaten your fill in this land, be careful not to forget Yahuwah, who rescued you from slavery in the land of Egypt. You must fear Yahuwah your God and serve him. When you take an oath, you must only use his name. You must not worship any of the gods of the neighboring nations, for the Lord your God, who lives among you, is a jealous God. His anger will flare up against you, and he will wipe you from the face of the earth. You must not test Yahuwah your God as you did when you complained at Massa. You must diligently obey the commands of Yahuwah your God, all the laws and decrees he has given you. Do what is right and good in Yahuwah's sight, so all will go well with you. Then you will enter and occupy the good land that the Lord swore to give your ancestors. You will drive out all the enemies living in the land, just as Yahuwah said you would. In the future, your children will ask you, what is the meaning of these laws, decrees, and regulations that Yahuwah our God has commanded us to obey? Then you must tell them, we were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt, but Yahuwah brought us out of Egypt with his strong hand. Yahuwah did miraculous signs and wonders before our eyes, dealing terrifying blows against Egypt, Pharaoh, and all his people. He brought us out of Egypt so he could give us this land he had sworn to give to our ancestors. And Yahuwah our God commanded us to obey all these decrees and to fear him, so he can continue to bless us and preserve our lives, as he has done to this day. For we will be counted as righteous when we obey all the commands of Yahuwah that Yahuwah our God has given us. All right, beautiful people. You know, I was, and this might be getting off the topic a little bit. Let me see. Okay, it's just real quick. So, I like to do a lot of study, right? So, but I also like to study and look at different married couples and everything, you know, because of course I'm married, and you know, we can get some pointers from people who've been married a little bit longer. So I began looking into like the different cultures of marriage, right? So the last couple days, I just happened to be looking at some of the marriage things from Egypt, right? So I ordered these books with hieroglyphs and everything, right? Because there's some things in there that I wanted to learn. And so was talking about the Egyptian culture, and I was quite amazed. I really was, because I would have never thought it, right? And mind you, based on, I'm at one of those points where I'm betwixt two at the moment, because it baffles me, right? And let me tell you why. The Egyptian culture, now granted, I know what we see on the movies, what we hear about Egypt and everything, and how Israel wasn't always at odds with Egypt, right? Because remember, Yahuwah sent his people down to Egypt, and they were there for quite a few generations, right? Matter of fact, if you go back to the Old Testament, you will see in quite a few places that Yahuwah called Egypt his people, right? And it was just coming to life. I'm like, holy crap, wait, what? As many times as I read this, how come this never stuck out to me? And so I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, yeah, Egypt was the superpower of the world, and they were blessed by Yah, right? So I was like, this is interesting. I mean, I read it, but you know how you read something, you just gloss over it, okay? But then it comes a time when you read it, it's like, wait a minute. I done read this 1,000 times, and I never looked at it like that, right? So I said all that to say, as I was looking into their marriage, right? You know what? Listen, let me just go get my little book and let me just read you this, right? Bear with me, y'all. I want to share this with y'all. Hold on. Okay. So look, I do a lot of study, y'all. I'm gonna share the reference with you, right? But remember, I do a lot of study into different things, and I know how to separate stuff, right? Keep what's good, throw away what's bad, right? So, but anyway, this called sacred sexuality, right? It's ancient Egyptian tantric yoga, because they practice yoga, right? But they go into details on how the married couples, first of all, how they come together and everything. I thought it was pretty interesting, right? But the whole point of bringing this up was that it seems that their marriages, let me make sure I say this right. Let me say it this way. From my understanding, right? If we look at not just Christians, but let's not even talk about Christians, right? Let's talk about when we get into the Hebrew community, right? Because they're waking up to their roots and who they are, and then they like to pull the scriptures out with David and Solomon, the ones with multiple wives, where y'all said we could do it if we could take care of them. Okay, that's fine. But we know that causes problems, right? So all these things, right? I'm still trying to work things out of my mind. So as I'm looking at different cultures, and I got this, and I was going through some of their things on how their marriages were. First of all, they don't arrange marriages, which was okay. Not everybody does that, but some do, right? Because they feel that before you get married, you should be you should be the one, because you're going to get married, you should be the one to choose who you're going to marry and spend your life with, right? And then also, with them in their marriage, with man and a woman, they were probably the only nation that frowned upon polygamy. Them, and I think it was Greece, the Egyptians and Greece, because they said you couldn't grow to your full potential if you had multiple partners. So when you got married, you were to only have one husband, one wife. Now, in the Hebrew culture and in the Christian culture, they also teach you about divorce, right? And we know if you come from the Christian or whatever, they say, oh, divorce is frowned upon. They don't really allow divorce, but we know what happens. But in the Egyptian culture, they allow divorce, right? But here's their thing. They said that they allow couples, not that they allow because it's the couples that's choosing themselves, but what they do is if they were having issues, the elders of the community would help them, the husband and the wife, help them try to work out the issues as much as possible. If they couldn't come to any kind of resolve between themselves, they were to get help from elder couples and help them kind of walk through some things, right? And then after all things had been exhausted, if they couldn't find any way to make it work, then they made an agreement that they would part, and then they would be free to go find another partner who they thought would be better suited to them, right? So, but there was a little thing in here that, hold on, let me get it. I have it on my table of contents because I was reading it on my, in my Kindle app. Hold on, y'all. I thought this was really good. Hold on. And I got it highlighted. Remember, I told you it was going to take us off just a little bit, but I thought it was really good. And I was quite surprised that, I guess I really shouldn't have been, but because I hadn't really looked at other cultures before and how they looked at, I'm like, you know what, their outlook on marriage seems pretty decent and wholesome to me. Right? So, but I just thought it just blew my mind, just because thinking about Egypt and learning about Egypt, all the different things that I knew about them up to this point. I didn't expect to see that. Okay. You got to go back to, I ain't talking about some of the stuff, the books that you get on like the modern Egypt, but you got to go back to ancient Egypt, like ancient Egypt. There's a time where things they began to transition. I'm not talking about after they transition, like way back, like ancient Egypt. Hold on, y'all. I probably should have. Okay, marriage. It was 164. Okay, there was like this small little blurb. And I probably should have just pulled it up on my Kindle. Hold on, y'all. One quick second. If I can't find it here, because I got it highlighted in my Kindle app. Y'all thought it was really good. It might be helpful for married couples. I'm able to take wisdom from different places and kind of walk through it and look at different things and see how it applies. Does it violate anything? Does it violate the laws of Yah? Does it violate one another? Just take little tidbits and look at them. I like to keep the good and get rid of the bad. And this book is, you know what? And I can't pull it up on my, darn it. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna share it afterwards because I pulled up the book that I was that I was looking at it on my Kindle app, but I'm recording on my phone from my that has the app up there, and I don't have it downloaded up here. But I highlighted and thought it was really good. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna like copy that little blurb and I'll share it in the comment section. I just thought it was really, really good. You know, it was just good ancient wisdom all around, and it wasn't like religious based, right? You know, it doesn't matter because it would apply to anybody. It doesn't matter what culture you come from, background, race, color, creed. It was just good, you know. So, but let me go ahead and we're gonna start at Proverbs chapter 1. But I'll share that because I have to pull it the spot right from my Kindle app that I highlighted so I can actually find it in my book. So let's go to Proverbs chapter 1. Yesaf, Shabbat Shalom, Adaya, Barakatah to you as well. I can't read that. That next one. It looks like Russian. Maybe they said good morning. All right. Proverbs chapter 1. The purpose of Proverbs. These are the Proverbs of Solomon, David's son, king of Israel. Their purpose is to teach people wisdom and discipline, to help them understand the insights of the wise. Their purpose is to teach people to live disciplined and successful lives, to help them do what is right, just, and fair. These proverbs will give insight into the simple knowledge and discernment to the young. Let the wise listen to these proverbs and become even wiser. Let those with understanding receive guidance. By exploring the meaning in these proverbs and parables, the words of the wise and their riddles. Fear of Yahuwah is the foundation of true knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. My child, listen when your father corrects you. Don't neglect your mother's instruction. What you learn from them will crown you with grace and be a chain of honor around your neck. My child, if sinners entice you, turn your back on them. They may say, come and join us. Let's hide and kill someone. Just for fun, let's ambush the innocent. Let's swallow them alive like the grave. Let's swallow them whole like those who go down to the pit of death. Think of the great things we'll get. We'll fill our houses with all the stuff we take. Come, throw in your lot with us, and we'll all share the loot. My child, don't go along with them. Stay far from their paths. They rush to commit evil deeds. They hurry to commit murder. If a bird sees a trap being set, it knows to stay away. But these people set an ambush for themselves. They are trying to get themselves killed. Such is the fate of all who are greedy for money. It robs them of life. Wisdom shouts in the streets. Wisdom shouts in the streets. She cries out in the public square. She calls to the crowds along the main street, to those gathered in front of the city gate. How long, you simpletons, will you insist on being simple-minded? How long will you mockers relish your mocking? How long will you fools hate knowledge? Come and listen to my counsel. I'll share my heart with you and make you wise. I called you so often, but you wouldn't come. I reached out to you, but you paid no attention. You ignored my advice and rejected the correction I offered. So I will laugh when you are in trouble. I will mock you when disaster overtakes you, when calamity overtakes you like a storm, when disaster engulfs you like a cyclone, and anguish and distress overwhelm you. When they cry for help, I will not answer. Though they anxiously search for me, they will not find me. For they hated knowledge and chose not to fear Yahuwah. They rejected my advice and paid no attention when I corrected them. Therefore, they must eat the bitter fruit of living their own way, choking on their own schemes. For simpletons turn away from me to death. Fools are destroyed by their own complacency, but all who listen to me will live in peace, untroubled by fear of harm. Next chapter, Proverbs chapter 2. The benefits of wisdom. My child, listen to what I say and treasure my commands. Tune your ear to wisdom and concentrate on understanding. Cry out for insight and ask for understanding. Search for them as you would for silver and seek them like hidden treasures. Then you will understand what it means to fear the Lord, and you will gain the knowledge of God. For Yahuwah grants wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He grants a treasure of common sense to the honest. He is a shield to those who walk with integrity. He guards the path of the just and protects those who are faithful to him. Then you will understand what is right, just, and fair, and you will find the right way to go. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will fill you with joy. Wise choices will watch over you. Understanding will keep you safe. Wisdom will save you from evil people, from those whose words are twisted. These men turned from the right way to walk down dark paths, to take pleasure in doing wrong, and they enjoy the twisted ways of evil. Their actions are crooked and their ways are wrong. Wisdom will save you from the immoral woman, from the seductive words of the promiscuous woman. She has abandoned her husband and ignores the covenant she made before God. Entering her house leads to death. It is the road to the grave. The man who visits her is doomed. He will never reach the paths of life. So follow the steps of the good and stay on the paths of the righteous. For only the godly will live in the land, and those with integrity will remain within it. But the wicked will be removed from the land, and the treacherous will be uprooted. Last chapter for today, Proverbs chapter 3. Trusting in Yahuwah. My child, never forget the things I have taught you. Store my commands in your heart. If you do this, you will live many years, and your life will be satisfying. Never let loyalty and kindness leave you. Tie them around your neck as a reminder. Write them deep within your heart. Then you will find favor with both Yah and people, and you will earn a good reputation. Trust in Yahuwah with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. Don't be impressed with your own wisdom. Instead, fear Yahuwah and turn away from evil. Then you will have healing for your body and strength for your bones. Honor Yahuwah with your wealth, with the best part of everything you produce. Then he will fill your barns with grain, and your vats will overflow with good wine. My child, don't reject Yahuwah's discipline. Don't be upset when he corrects you. For Yahuwah corrects those he loves, just as a father corrects a child in whom he delights. Joyful is the person who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding. For wisdom is more profitable than silver, and her wages are better than gold. Wisdom is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. She offers you long life in her right hand and riches and honor in her left. She will guide you down delightful paths. All her ways are satisfying. Wisdom is a tree to those who embrace her. Happy are those who hold her tightly. By wisdom, Yahuwah founded the earth. By understanding, he created the heavens. By his knowledge, the deep fountains of the earth burst forth, and the dew settles beneath the night sky. My child, don't lose sight of common sense and discernment. Hang on to them, for they will refresh your soul. They are like jewels on a necklace. They keep you safe on your way, and your feet will not stumble. You can go to bed without fear. You will lie down and sleep soundly. You will not need to be afraid of sudden disaster or the destruction that comes upon the wicked, for Yahuwah is your security. He will keep your foot from being caught in a trap. Do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it is in your power to help them. If you can help your neighbor now, don't say, "Come back tomorrow and then I'll help you." Don't plot harm against your neighbor, for those who live nearby trust you. Don't pick a fight without a reason when no one has done you harm. Don't envy violent people or copy their ways. Such wicked people are detestable to Yahuwah, but he offers his friendship to the godly. Yahuwah curses the house of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the upright. Yahuwah mocks the mockers, but is gracious to the humble. The wise inherit honor, but fools are put to shame. That, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. That was Proverbs chapter 1, 2, and 3. All right, y'all. Christy, hey, girl, hey. Dana, I saw your message come through, but I didn't click on it yet. I saw it as I was coming down the stairs. I saw you asked a question about Yaki or something. I had to go back and look at it. I'll look at it after the live. All right, y'all. So we're going to pull this back up so we can get those missing pages. And just in case you missed this when we read it before we started, Caesar's Messiah, you can hear it now. It's going to take us about the same time to get through, about 2 days, right? So I'm going to read this would normally, you know how you get a book and on the back of it, they give you like an overview of what the book is about. This is what is on the inside cover. And it says, why we welcome you to the inner circle. Hey, turn it down a little bit, y'all. It's a little bit too loud. Okay, turn the other one down a little bit more. Okay, so remember, like I said, I'll share also, I'll reshare the PDF of this today, but remember, it's missing about 5 pages, which is why we're going to read it again, because I found my printed copy that has all the pages in it. But I'm not sure if you can still go purchase this. I know the last time I checked, they had completely sold out, and I had even tried going to his website to see if they were doing it, printing anymore, but they said it was, you know, they weren't printing anymore at the time, right? Okay. Amen, Adiah. Trust in Yahuwah, no one else. Okay. Why we welcome you to the inner circle. The inner circle, or inner ring, is the most exclusive club in history. It has consisted of those religious, political, and literary readers having knowledge of the great secret that the Calpurnius Piso family of ancient Rome created the fictional Jesus, the New Testament, the church, and Christianity. In welcoming the general public to this knowledge, the following introduction is appropriate. Originally, this explanation was designed solely for Jews for the purpose of preventing their conversion to Christianity. It was not intended for the Christians nor other non-Jews. No exclusivism was intended, rather concern for the faith of others. The purpose of this book was to inform Jewish Christians and Jewish Jews of the true account of the creation of Christianity. In the 1st century AD, Jews were 10% of the population of the Roman Empire. Today, after 1900 years of suffering persecution, forced conversion, exiling, murder, and finally the Holocaust, the Jews are about 1/4 of 1% of the world's population. And we know clearly that this guy here, he's given the right story, but he's still identifying the wrong people, because if you read it appropriately, and even through the history that we find out, it pinpoints the real identity of the real people, right? And even we spoke about it in Caesar's Messiah and Shakespeare's Secret Messiah. They specifically pointed it out, even by identifying the skin color or the ethnicity of this people, right? Okay, so he's still in here. He's still using Jews, like the Jewish people that are there. They are converts to They call it Judaism, but to the Hebrew faith, right? They are European converts. Okay. The purpose of this book was to inform Jewish Christians and Jewish Jews of the true account of Christianity. In the 1st century AD, Jews were 10% of the population of the Roman Empire. Today, after 1900 years of suffering persecution, forced conversion, exiling, murder, and finally the Holocaust, the Jews are but 1/4 of 1% of the world's population. And today, Jews are being attacked by modern versions of age-old problems. Firstly, there are a number of groups of what are called Messianic Jews, or Hebrew Christians, or completed Jews, whose leaders are engaged in the twofold business of, 1, collecting money from Christians, their churches, and their Christian organizations. You know what they doing? The group, the European converts. Bless Jerusalem. Send your money here to this Jewish congregation, and the Lord will bless you. They collect the money from the hoi polloi, as they call us, right? They're in the business of extracting, deceiving those who are in Christianity. Yeah, okay. Y'all get it. Whose leaders are engaged in the twofold business of, 1, collecting money from the Christians, their churches, and their Christian organizations. And 2, using the money thus collected to evangelize the more confused and or unsophisticated of their Jewish brethren into changing their religious affiliation to be Christians. So they only trying to keep the best of the best up here at the top with the knowledge of what's really going on. Everybody else, y'all, you need to go over there with the Christians. You're just as dumb as they are. Go on over there with them. You don't need to know none of this, right? Secondly, still today, other Christian groups continue to manipulate their readers and listeners by preaching hatred toward Jews. Some attack Jews by attacking the state of Israel. They claim the Holocaust was a lie created by Jews to justify Israel. They continuously present the account of the 1967 wartime attack on the USS Liberty with their cry of Jewish conspiracy. Other groups claim that they, white Christian Americans, are somehow descended from the northern 10 tribes who were carried off by Assyria in 720 BC, and that they, not Jews, are modern-day Israel, and that Jews are satanic rejectors of Christ and have no right to exist. All this is done in the name of Christ, while the money continues pouring in. This hatred towards Jews seems reasonable to many only because 1900 years of stereotyping Jews has conditioned popular thinking to its acceptance. The hatred was deliberately created by the authors of the New Testament, as this booklet shows. Thirdly, our Arab cousins have seized upon the worldwide negative image of Jews to likewise manipulate for power. They and their communist friends dominate the UN. The UN is the United Nations. They and their communist friends dominate the UN so that it spends 50% of its total time attacking Israel by every conceivable excuse. Many Christians, as well as Jews, have wondered at this continued manipulation of hatred. Christians have also wondered at just why the Jews did reject Jesus. They have doubted the Jesus story, but there were no answers available for their questions. Many have been clearly pleased to obtain and read this explanation. Therefore, it is to the seekers of truth of all possible persuasions that we respect fully submit the information in this book. Okay, y'all. Page 1, The Great Secret. For there is nothing covered that will not be revealed. And that comes from Matthew chapter 10, verse 26. The New Testament, the church, and Christianity were all the creation of Calpurnius Piso, pronounced Piso. It has a spelling P-I-S-O, but pronounced P-E-S-O, pronounced Piso. Let me go back. The New Testament, the church, and Christianity were all the creation of the Calpurnius Piso, pronounced Piso family, who were Roman aristocrats. The New Testament and all the characters in it, Jesus, all the Josephs, all the Marys, all the disciples, apostles, Paul, and John the Baptist are all fictional. Let that sink in. Y'all got it by now, right? The Pisos created the story and the characters. They tied the story into a specific time and place in history, and they connected it with some peripheral actual people, such as the Herods, Gamaliel, and Roman procurators, etc. But Jesus and everyone involved with him were created, that is, fictional characters. In the middle of the 1st century of the present era, Rome's aristocracy felt itself confronted with a growing problem. The Jewish religion was continuing to grow in numbers, adding ever more proselytes. Jews numbered more than 8 million and were 10% of the population of the Roman Empire and 20% of that portion living in East Rome. Approximately half or more of the Jews lived outside Palestine, of which many were descended from proselytes, male and female. However, Judaism's ethics and morality were incompatible with the hallowed Roman institution of slavery on which the aristocracy fed, lived, and ruled. They feared that Judaism would become the chief religion of the empire. The Roman author Annaeus Seneca, tutor and confidant of Emperor Nero, suggested in a letter to his friend Lucilius, a suadum of Lucius Piso, that lighting candles on Sabbaths be prohibited. Seneca is later quoted by St. Augustine in his City of God, although the quotation does not exist in Seneca's extant writings, as charging that, quote, the Sabbath customs that most accursed nation have gained such strength that they have now been received in all lands. The conquered have given laws to the conqueror. End quote. So they call Israel that most accursed nation. Right? I'm gonna read it again. Quote: the Sabbath customs the Sabbath customs of that most accursed nation have gained such strength that they have now been received in all lands. The conquered have given laws to the conqueror. End quote. The family headed by Seneca's friend, Lucius Piso, was confronted with an allied problem more personal to it. They were the Calpurnius Pisos, who were descended from statesmen and consuls, from the great poets and historians as well. Gaius Lucius Calpurnius Piso, the leader of the family, had married Arria the younger from her grandfather's name, Aristobulus. This made Lucius Piso's wife the great-granddaughter of Herod the Great. Repeatedly, religious-minded Judean zealots were staging insurrections against the Herodian rulers of Judea, who were Piso's wife's relations. Piso wished to strengthen his wife's family's control of the Judaeans. The Pisos searched for a solution to the two problems. They found it in the Jewish holy books, which were the foundation both for the rapid spread of the religion and for the zealots' refusal to be governed by Rome's puppets. The Pisos mocked but marveled at the Jewish belief in their holy books. Therefore, they felt a new Jewish book would be the ideal method to pacify the Judeans and strengthen their in-laws' control of the country. About the year 60 A.D., Lucius Calpurnius Piso composed Marcus, the first version of the Gospel of Mark, which no longer exists. He was encouraged by his friend Seneca and assisted by his wife's kinsman, the young Perseus, the poet. Nero's mistress, later his wife, Poppaea, was pro-Jewish, and Nero opposed the plan. The result was that the Pisonian conspiracy to assassinate Nero, detailed in the historian Tacitus. The result was the Pisonian conspiracy to assassinate Nero, detailed in the historian Tacitus. But this attempt failed when he aborted the plot. Instead, Nero had Piso and Seneca and their fellow conspirators executed by forcing them to commit suicide. He exiled Piso's young son Arius, with 2 R's, spelled Arius with 1 R herein, who appears in Tacitus under several names, including Antonius Natalis. Nero sent young Piso to Syria as governor. That post also gave him command of the legions controlling Judea. His own history records his service in Judea in the year 65 under the name Gaius Florus, and in 66 with the suadum Cestius Gallus. This Arius Calpurnius Piso deliberately provoked the Jewish revolt in 66 so he could destroy the temple in Jerusalem, for the Jews were unwilling to accept his father's story and thereby become pacified and thereby become pacified by it as it was intended. However, his 12th legion was caught by the zealots in the pass of Beth Horon and almost lost. Nero's reaction was to exile him instead to Pannonia to command a legion there, and to send Licinius Musanius to serve in Syria, and Vespasian to Judea to put down the Jewish revolt. Then in 68, Nero was assassinated by his own slave, Ephroditus, who, unknown to his master, was young Piso's lackey. Galba became emperor and named Piso's cousin, Licinianus Piso, as his intended successor, but Galba in turn was soon overthrown by Otho. Otho was then overthrown by Vitellius, at which point Piso and his friends began to flock together against the latter. The Pisos, Musanius, and Tiberius Alexander, who was Philo's nephew, all joined ranks behind Vespasian to seek to overthrow Vitellius. They were joined by Frontinus and Agricola. Arrius Calpurnius Piso was still commanding the 7th Legion in Pannonia, which is Austria-Hungary, and Vespasian sent him, now appearing in Tacitus with the name Marcus Antonius Primus, south across the Alps to overthrow Vitellius. Meanwhile, the main body of Vespasian's legions marched overland under Musanius from the east towards Rome. Piso succeeded in defeating Vitellius's army and secured Rome for Vespasian. Musanius arrived and promptly sent him to Judea to help Titus at the siege of Jerusalem. He did so, and in 70 they assaulted the city, then the temple, burning it, slaughtered many thousands, sent thousands more to slavery and gladiatorial combat and death. Then Arrius Calpurnius Piso wrote in sequence the following. After this, he wrote the Gospel of Matthew, which was written in 70 through 75 CE. Then they wrote the present Gospel of Mark, which was written in 75 to 80 CE. The Gospel of Luke, with the help of Pliny the Younger, 85 through 90 CE. In the Gospel story, he inserted himself by playing the role of not only Jesus, but of all the Josephs as well. He particularly enjoyed assuming the identity of Joseph, wishing to create a Jewish hero, a savior, in a fictional form. He and his father before him felt the identity of a second Joseph secretly, but very aptly fit them. For their name Piso had the same 4 letters rearranged as the 4 Hebrew letters Yud, Vav, Samek, and Fe, which in that language spelled the name Joseph. Thus they saw themselves as the new Joseph. That is why so much of the story of Joseph in Egypt is secretly redone and inserted into the gospel story of Jesus. Okay, so it gives this chart, and it goes through the Jewish Josephs of Genesis, and then a comparing chart for the second Joseph, which is Jesus. Mom, shalom. Hard head, shalom. Okay, so the Jewish Josephs of Genesis, and it's giving the it's comparing them and what happened. So for the Jewish Joseph of Genesis, 12 brothers, spices on the camels. Joseph flees without his cloak from Potiphar's wife. Joseph was sold for 20 pieces of silver. Brother Judah suggests the sale. Background was Egypt, bondage and slaying of the firstborn. Miriam is the sister of Moses, whose story is sequel to that of Joseph. And then you have the second Joseph, which is Jesus. 12 disciples, spices with the Magi. The young disciple flees without his cloak when Jesus is arrested. Jesus is sold for 30 pieces of silver. Judas sold Jesus. The background was flight to Egypt to avoid Herod's slaying of the male children, which is found in Matthew 2:13 and 16. And Miriam is Jesus' mother, right? So they got the same, almost identical things happening with them. The Jesus figure which Piso creates is a composite. He inserts redrawn elements from Joseph in Egypt and other Jews in the Bible, elements from Essenic writings, and characteristics of various pagan gods. Essenic writings, I'm not sure if you guys ever heard of the Essenes gospel, right? So there's a group of people who were called the Essenes, and they were really peaceful people, but they had copies of scriptures, and it was like actually rewritten. Somebody from the Essenes, it seems like somebody from the Essenes had rewritten it, and it was like a more peaceful type gospel or whatever. So that's what it's talking about, the Essenic version, right? Okay, you can probably Google that and find a couple versions. I got one. I kind of glanced at it a few times, but I digress. Let's see. He inserts redrawn elements from Joseph in Egypt and other Jews of the Bible, elements from Essenic writings, and characteristics of various pagan gods. Piso plagiarized the Hebrew scriptures. Especially, he loved and borrowed freely from the prophet Isaiah, whose 44th chapter was most helpful. Piso's idea to make Jesus a God to whom to bow, worship, and pray came from Isaiah chapter 44, verse 17, and the idea to make himself as Jesus, or Creator Father, a carpenter, and the idea for Jesus' cross came from Isaiah chapter 44, verse 13. He makes Jesus' career fulfill a multitude of verses from the Hebrew Bible, many of which verses were never intended to be fulfilled by any Messiah, or Messiah here is anointed ruler. Many of the verses were never intended to be fulfilled by any Messiah, anointed ruler at all. Later, he and his family create hero number 2, Paul, and have him fulfill in Acts those things which they forgot to have Jesus fulfill in the synoptic gospels. Still later, Jesus fulfills yet additional prophecies in the Gospel of John and in the writings of the church fathers. The prophecies fit Jesus for the same reason Cinderella's slippers fit her feet. That's going to be our title today. The prophecies fit Jesus for the same reason Cinderella's slippers fit her feet. The Jesus story was deliberately written in such a way that it would fulfill the prophecies. Now, that makes sense, because remember, all the way back before we even started mentioning any of this, remember how I was saying they are creating prophecies over there, so it looks like things are being, things are coming to pass. They control the media outlet, so the story that's constantly playing in front of people is one that they're creating, right? So that I said, that's why it seems like prophecies are coming to pass that are written in the Bible. First of all, my G, they wrote it, the New Testament. Then they got everything. It's the huge world production. They wrote it, they're producing it, and they're playing the movie in front of the whole world. And those that can be taken will be taken. That's I'm like, wake it up, people. This is not prophecy being fulfilled. And I know that's hard to say. Even it's like, oh, but such and such. I'm like, yeah, okay, y'all keep on. I'm telling you, they're creating it and they're inciting fear in people. Look, okay. Let me just go back to the Cinderella slippers. The prophecies fit Jesus for the same reason Cinderella's slippers fit her feet. The Jesus story was deliberately written in such a way that it would fulfill the prophecies. In addition to creating Jesus in literature, Piso created for himself another famous literary role, that of a purported Jewish general and then historian, Flavius Josephus. As Josephus, he contended he had bravely led his fellow Jews in the war and defending Galilee against the Roman invaders. However, like Jesus, Josephus came only in... Hold on. My eyes moving. Hold on. However, like Jesus, Josephus came only in literature, that is, in Piso's own writings. Under his fictional name of Flavius Josephus, he also wrote during these approximate years the following. And it's going to list the other books that Josephus wrote. The Jewish War, Jewish Antiquities, which is Jewish Archaeology, His purported autobiography entitled Vita in Latin, which would be bios or bios in Greek, which is also fictional. Oh, I forgot to give you the years. Okay, I'm sorry. The Jewish War, which was written 75 through 80 CE. Jewish Antiquities, which is Jewish archaeology, from 90 to 93 CE. His purported autobiography entitled Vita in Latin, which would be bios in Greek, which is also fictional, in 96 through 103 CE. And Contra Apionem, which was written in 103 through 105 CE. Piso is known publicly in history only under his pen name of Flavius Josephus. He does not appear as Arius Calpurnius Piso. His true identity is decipherable only by reconstruction. With his father's death at Nero's hand in 65, the Pisos vanished from public Roman history. For the next 37 years, they are busy writing the New Testament and tightening their power over the known world, but they appear only under alias names. They reappear as a family with Piso's grandson, Antonius, as emperor in 138, and are thereafter known chiefly as the Antonines. I think that's how you say that name. The Antonines, but not as the Pisos. Ooh, Philo. Yeah, I know, right? Dark Knight, Kingdom of Light, Shalom, and Cicely Williamson. I don't know what that is. Is that a link? I don't know. Shalom. Okay. The next section is called The Jews Reject the Story. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. And you can find that in John chapter 1, verse 11. His mother's people rejected his tale with good reason. They well knew he had destroyed their temple and city and slaughtered their people because of his senseless hatred, which is found in John chapter 15, verse 25. And that he was now the author of the new fiction by which Rome was hoping to control the Judean masses. They also knew that while finishing the Gospel of Matthew and writing his account of the war entitled the Jewish War, he was the Roman general who, in 73, destroyed the last three Jewish outposts, Marcaris, Herodian, and then Masada. In the semi-fictional story of the war, which he wrote, he gave himself, as conqueror of Masada, the fictional name Flavius Silva. He knew the details of the siege of Masada intimately because he was the one who conducted it. He wrote that the defenders who committed suicide totaled 960 because, as the explanation later of his code system will explain, 600 stood for Christ, 300 stood for the cross, and 60 stood for the name Calpurnius Piso. Then he inserted into the Gospel of Mark, after the year 75, the fallen commander of Masada, Eleazar ben Yair. He makes him Jairus in Mark chapter 5, verse 22. Then he puts him into Luke chapter 8, verse 41 as Lazarus. He was teasing that he, Piso, because his alter ego creation was Jesus, could heal and raise from the dead, whereas the Jews had been forced by him to perish at Masada. Because of the destruction in the war, Judea after 70 was desolate and underpopulated, with little left to tax. The Herodian aristocracy had gone to Rome permanently to live. The Sadducean priesthood, appointees, and in-laws of the Herods were dead at the revolutionaries' hands, and the remainder scattered to Rome. Even the Essenic visionaries in the desert were dead at Piso's hand. The only surviving Judean leadership were the non-political or fence-straddling Pharisees, who after 70 changed their names to rabbis. The remaining Judeans looked to them for guidance. Their leader, Yochanan ben Zakkai, had obtained Vespasian's permission to establish a school at Yavne. In return, the rabbis now taught pacifism and accommodation to Vespasian's imperial wishes. But unlike the Herods before them, they were not fully practical, for they refused to accommodate Piso's wishes as to religion. They refused to instruct their people to accept his story. One form of revenge he took was to convert the Jewish leaders in the story. He inserted Yochanan ben Zakkai as John the Baptist, son of Zachariah, and as Zacchaeus, the little man up in the sycamore tree in Luke chapter 19. Hey, guys, y'all are too loud. Hold on. Let me go back. He inserted Yochanan ben Zakkai as John the Baptist, the son of Zachariah, and as Zacchaeus, the little man up in the sycamore tree in Luke chapter 19, who becomes a follower of Jesus. Rabbi Gamaliel is inserted not only as the teacher of Paul in Acts chapter 22, verse 3, but also as the speaker at the Council of Jerusalem, warning that the apostles should be let alone in Acts chapter 5, verses 38 through 39. Even Rabbi Akiva would be added to Acts as Agabus in Acts chapter 11, verse 28, and Acts chapter 21, verse 10, and as Siva in Acts chapter 19, verse 14. More vengeance was wrought by Piso by his picturing of the Jews in the successive Gospels as increasingly evil. In Matthew chapter 23, Jesus repeatedly calls the scribes and Pharisees hypocrites and even vipers, but does not include the people. In Matthew chapter 3, verse 7 also, the Pharisees and Sadducees are called offspring of vipers, this time by John the Baptist. But by the time of Luke chapter 3, verse 7, it is not merely the leaders, but the crowds whom John the Baptist calls the offspring of vipers. And in Acts chapter 23, verse 12, written in 96 through 100, it is the Jews as a group and not merely the Pharisees or Sadducees who form a conspiracy to kill Paul. By the time of the Gospel of John, year 105, the author, Piso's son, Justus, has Jesus tell the Jews who challenges him, "You are of your father, the devil," in John chapter 8, verse 44. Even when Piso absolves the villains in culpability, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do," in Luke chapter 23, verse 34, it is the Roman soldiers, not the Jews, whom he excuses. It was true that none of the actors knew what they had done, because none of the fictional characters could be present to observe the writing of the story. The New Testament pictures the Jews as enemies of Jesus, of Paul, and of the message of the gospel. Read that again. Ben Shalom. Shalom. The New Testament pictures the Jews as the enemies of Jesus, of Paul, and of the message of the gospel. How many of y'all ever paid attention to that part right there, what he just said? Because if you go back and read it, you will clearly see that he was at odds with the Jews. Jesus was at odds with the Jews, right? He was supposed to be a Jew, but he was at odds with them, trying to convert them to the Roman Christianity, right? Got to pay attention to the details. The New Testament pictures the Jews as the enemies of Jesus, of Paul, and of the message of the gospel. Piso's son, Proculus, writing the epistle to the Romans in 1128, explained the reason why the Jews were being pictured as the enemies of the new believers. As concerning the gospel, they, the Jews, are the enemies because of you, for your sake. That is, in order that the people would believe the story. The author of 1st and 2nd John admits why the Jews were then opposing the gospel. They were refusing to confess that Jesus Christ had come in the flesh. 2nd John, verse 7. 2nd John, verse 7. The author's response was to label such opponents as deceiver and antichrist. I'll read that again for y'all. The author of 1st and 2nd John admits why the Jews were then opposing the gospel. They were refusing to confess that Jesus Christ had come in the flesh. 2nd John, verse 7. The author's response was to label such opponents as deceivers and antichrist. Because remember, they say if you don't confess that Jesus Christ died, he came born of the flesh, born into the flesh through the Virgin Mary, all that stuff. If you don't buy into their story, and if you're not repeating that, they say you label them as antichrist, right? Which it kind of bothered me at the beginning. We talk about it. It's like people saying I got the antichrist spirit, and once I began to really understand it, I'm like, doggone right, I got the antichrist. That sounds weird to Christian ears, right? Like, oh, who is this girl? What is she talking about? You're doggone right, because it's fictional. If y'all have led us astray for too long, right? Let's uncover these lies. Yeah, we are anti-Christ. We are all Yah alone, Him alone, right? Okay. Where we at? We at an hour and 5 minutes, but it's Saturday, y'all. I'm gonna keep going. Oh yeah, Dark Night. It's an uncomfortable truth our people don't want to talk about. Whew. But the time is now. Okay, y'all. Section 3. The authorship of the New Testament books. Let God be true, but every man a liar. Romans 3 and 4. The principal authors of the New Testament were Arius, Calpurnius, Piso, or Josephus, his son Fabius Justus, and his granddaughter's husband Pliny the Younger. Following is a list of the actual authors of the various books and the approximate dates written. Okay, so it's going through and it's labeling. We're going to find out who wrote every single book in the New Testament, right? So if you want to write it down, you can write it down, but it's a video. You can come back if you know, just remember it's here, right? At about the hour mark, you'll find it. Okay. It's given the names of the books in the New Testament, the dates it was written, and the actual authors of these books, right? So you've been in church sometime, you're like, well, different books are like Mark was written by Mark, and they don't know who the author was of a few different books. That's a lie. They knew who wrote all of it, right? Okay. So the original book of Mark was written in 60 CE by Lucius Calpurnius Piso. The book of Matthew was written in 70 CE, and it's given it in the order it was written, y'all, right? Okay, so the book of Mark came first. The book of Matthew was written in 70 through 75 CE by Arius Calpurnius Piso. The present book of Mark was written in 75 through 80 CE by Arius Calpurnius Piso. The book of Luke was written in 85 through 90 CE by Arius Calpurnius Piso with Pliny's help. The book of John was written in 105 CE by Justus Calpurnius Piso. Acts of the Apostles, or the book of Acts, it was written from 96 to 100 CE. And within the book of Acts, you have chapters 1 through 15. Chapters 1 through 15 was written by A.C. Piso with Justus's help. Chapters 16 through 17 by Justus. Chapters 18 through 28 of the book of Acts, some was written by Justus and some was written by Pliny. The book of Romans was written in 100 CE by Proculus Calpurnius Piso. 1 Corinthians, Galatians, and Ephesians. Which son? Isaiah, quit putting your feet on the table. The little woman child of mine. Can you tell your son to quit putting his feet on the table? Okay. 1 Corinthians, Galatians, and Ephesians.
Mom, I'm trying to do it again.
Can you just ignore him? He's not putting his feet on you. Stop it, y'all. 1 Corinthians, Galatians, and Ephesians was written from 100 to 103 CE by Pliny. 2 Corinthians And Philippians was written from 103 to 105 CE by Justus. Colossians was written from 106 to 107 CE by Justus with his son Julianus's help. 1 Timothy was written in 105 CE by Pliny. 2 Timothy was written in 107 CE by Justus. Go ahead, son. 1st and 2nd Thessalonians was written in 105 to 110 CE by Justus with the help of Julianus and his nephew Silanus. The book of Titus was written in 105 through 105 by Pliny. Philemon was written in 105 to 110 CE by Justus with the help of Julianus. The book of James was written in 110 CE by Justus. 1st and 2nd Peter was written in 110 through 115 CE by Proculus. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John was written in 110 through 115 by Julius Calpurnius Piso. The book of Jude was written from 110 to 115 CE by Julius. The book of Revelation was written in 136 through 137 by Julius. And the book of Hebrews was written in 140 CE by Flavius Arrhenius, or who was also Arian, aka Appian, the younger grandson of Piso by Claudia Phoebe. Okay, the church fathers. Between 100 and 105, additional Christian books were already being done by the same authors who were finishing the New Testament itself. Julius wrote an epistle as Clement of Rome. Pliny wrote a number of epistles as Saint Ignatius. Proculus wrote one as Saint Polycarp. By these writings, the authors were installing themselves in their own time as legitimate successors of the apostles Peter and Paul, who had supposedly written in the middle of the past century. This facade entitled them, as they now went among their new believers, to be legitimate propagandizers and interpreters of the Christian writings. The Septuagint. Father, too, was busy. Piso was amending the Greek Septuagint. In his Gospels, he had strengthened his story by misquoting places from the Hebrew Scriptures. He changed language in the Septuagint to make it conform with New Testament misquotes. That way, there would be an alleged correct translation of the Hebrew Scriptures with which the New Testament quotations agreed. So remember, way back, I was telling y'all, somebody had brought up, well, the Septuagint, you can use the Septuagint. I was like, the Septuagint has been played with as well. I said, you have to go further back. You can't rely on the Septuagint, right? Listen to this. The Apocrypha. Piso wished to create a strong foundation on which to place the new faith. So between 100 and 115 CE, he recreated the story of the 400 lost years of Jewish history. He did this by also writing most of the 14 books of the Apocrypha, including Esdras, 1st Maccabees, Judith, Tobit, Bel, and the Dragon. By making Jewish history brave and glorious, the empire's people would be more readily to accept it as their own history and become the new Israel. The writings of Arian. Later, between 130 and 150, Arian, or Arianus, a longer form of his grandfather's name, Arius, would emulate him. He would use Piso's swadems of Flavius and Barnabas, and he would compose, in addition to Hebrews, many Christian books: The Shepherd of Hermas, Barnabas, the Diachi, Martyrdom. Isaiah, chill. The Martyrdom of Polycarp, the Epistle to Diognetus. I probably said that wrong. Diognetus. Epistle to Diognetus, as well as 24 volumes on Roman history, an account of Alexander's campaign into India, the writings of the purported astronomer Ptolemy, and the lecture notes of Epictetus and I'm sorry. Let me go back. I'm going to just read the whole sentence again. Getting tongue-tied, okay. And he would compose, in addition to Hebrews, many Christian books. The Shepherd of Hermas, Barnabas, the Diachi, Martyrdom of Polycarp, Epistle to Diognetus, as well as 24 volumes on Roman history, an account of Alexander's campaign into India, the writings of the purported astronomer Ptolemy, and the lecture notes of Epictetus, his Stoic instructor, whom he created. Okay, we'll be at 114. We're going to keep going a little bit. We still hate JC, aka Lucifer. Right on, Yasaf, right on. Okay, the numerical code system. Putting 2 and 2 together and getting 22. Okay, so y'all got to hang with me here as it's getting into the numbers. Okay, y'all? All right. Listen. Piso wished to ensure that no other writers nor family could ever lay claim to the authorship of his and his family's great work. So he inserted various systems of code into his New Testament writings, and similarly into his public writings under his Josephus name, and also into the Apocrypha, each to express his and his family's true identity. It was like the copywriting of his work. Centuries before, the Greek philosopher Pythagoras had developed a method of expressing ideas through the numerical equivalence of a word's letters. Piso took and refined this Pythagorean mathematics, and by it utilized Greek numerical code, basically 3 systems. The first one is small numbering. When the same system was used by the Jews in Hebrew, they called it mispar katan. Each letter in Greek had a numerical equivalent, but in small numbering, the zeros were deleted. Thus, in Greek, his family name was spelled Calpurnius Piso with a K, and had the following numerical equivalents. So I'm going to show this to you real quick, so you can see it. Down here, right? So it's given its name, the Calpurnius, starting with a P, in the Greek lettering system, and the number equivalents under it, right? Okay. All right, I'm going to show it over here. Okay, can you see that? Maybe it looked blurry. Blurred. Okay. All right. Hold on. Why would they, Piso, document this for people to find out? Hold on. How does he know? Does he cite his references? Yeah, Dana, he cited a lot of his references. Remember, a lot of this stuff, during their time, you would have to have been alive during their time to understand what was happening. So if you were alive during that time, and you were aware of what was going on between the different kingdoms and the rulership and how they was trying to overthrow the Jews, and when they realized they couldn't do it, they had to figure out a way to overthrow them, and they realized the only way would be to get them by taking their holy books, because they were so faithful to their God. Granted, they committed shenanigans and was worshiping other gods, but for the most part, they weren't worshiping multiple gods like some of the other nations. And Rome was able to subdue all the other nations, but the Jews, they found out, the Hebrews, that the only way we're going to fool these people is fool them through their holy laws, which is why they wrote extra books and things, right? So I said all that to say he cited his references, and they wrote about it, not to give to us, not to give to the people they were trying to fool, but to give it to those of their people who they didn't want to be fooled by this story, because they were awesome writers. They were friggin' mastermind literary writers, and so that their own people wouldn't be taken away by this farce, That's why they wrote it down. But it was never supposed to get into our hands, right? Yeah, so they didn't document it necessarily for us to find it, which we did, right? All lies will be uncovered, everything hidden will be uncovered, but we found it. So they wrote it to keep their people. Like, listen, this is a story. Don't get caught up in this over here, right? We use this as bait. This is a trap for them. Don't get taken by it, right? But yeah. So is the Apocrypha a lie too? They wrote a lot of the books in the Apocrypha too, Dana. Yes. Okay, back to the numerical system. Calpurnius Piso. So the K stands for it. The number representation is a 20, and I'm gonna just read the numbers. So beginning with the first letter of his first name all the way to the O in his last name, the numbers are 20 plus 1 plus 30 plus 80 plus 70 plus 400 plus 100 plus 50 plus 10 plus 70 plus 200 equals 41, and that's Calpurnius. And for Piso, you got 80 plus 10 plus 200 plus 800, which equals 19. 19 to the third power, right? Okay. So together, the two words total 60. The second system, the initial system. This involved using only the initial letters of the names, but with full numerical, not small numbering values, right? So the initial, like the initials of your name, like PM, the initials of my name, Pamela Murphy, is PM. Same thing with Calpurnius Piso. They use the initial lettering system to calculate it by using the K and the P, or the C and the P, but because it was Greek, it was a K. So when you see KP, that represented Calpurnius Piso. So the K was 20 and the P was 80, thus KP equal 100. Keep following. C in Latin in the initial system was 100. P was 80, thus CP was 180. K was 20. P, which was R in Greek and was K was 20. P, which was R in Greek, was as R in Greek 100. Thus KP was 120. C was 100. P, as R in Greek, was 100. Thus CP was 200. And the third system they used was the sequence system. This was used with and as an extension of systems 1 or 2. Each Greek letter also had its assigned sequence in order of the letters in the alphabet. Using the sequence system together with 1, the letter for 60 was, and it has if you have the book or the PDF, you will see, and it has a little picture. The 60 was this picture, which even today appears as another picture. And the second, I'm about to show it to you. It appears as this picture on the papal cross, and that sign, because I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it. I'm gonna show it to you. It's like a cross, but it's a line with 3 lines going across it, right? A small line, a little longer line, and a little longer line than that, right? And that's, you find that on the papal cross. So I'm gonna show it to you. I'm not sure because it's kind of light. Hold on. Here and here. Okay. You see it? This was the first sign here, and this was the second one here that you find on the papal cross. Got it? Okay, I'm gonna show it over here on Facebook. Okay. Here was the first sign. The 60 was this. Hold on. Is that blurry? Okay. This was that. The first 60 was this. And here was the second sign. Well, that's blurry. It's blurry to me. Like the sign on the papal cross. Right. Okay. That letter was the 14th letter of the alphabet. Thus, Calpurnius Piso, which was expressed as 60, was also expressed as 14. That is, 14 became the secret equivalent to 60. Using the sequence system together with 2, K was the 10th letter in sequence, and P was a 16th, thus KP was 26. Examples of his use of these numbering systems are as follows. In the Gospels, the 2 chapters containing genealogies of Jesus are Matthew 1 and Luke 3. He uses various methods to express those numbers which most pertinently express his identity, namely 41, 60, and 26. In Matthew chapter 1, 41 is the actual number of generations from Abraham to Jesus. Count them. 60 is the crucial verse is Matthew chapter 1 verse 17, which recites 14 3 times. 1 plus 17 plus 14 3 times is a total of 60. The number 26 in Matthew chapter 21. The first chapter has only 25 verses. That plus 1, the first chapter, gives 26. In Luke chapter 3, 41. The number 41. The third chapter has 38 verses, total being 41. The number 60. The generations from Jesus back to Abraham, count them, are 57. 57 plus the third chapter totals 60. The number 26. The crucial verse is Luke chapter 3, verse 23, which recites Jesus' age as 30. 3 plus 23 is 26. Please note that Christians have been taught that the New Testament at that time did not have numbering of chapters and or verses. That also is not true as far as Piso's own copies were concerned. The family arranged the verses so many of the more important ones with the chapters hold on. The family arranged the verses so that many of the more important ones would, with the chapters, total Piso's numbers, such as John chapter 3 verse 16, total of 19, and John chapter 8 verse 32, a total of 30. That no chapter and or verse numbering appears on copies distributed to be read to the illiterate slaves and poor people is quite immaterial. It's to put in a lunch bag, Bella, to keep the food cold. It's an ice pack.
Yeah, I'm getting this for that. I'm a gift.
That no chapter and or verse numbering appears on copies distributed to be read to the illiterate slaves and poor people is quite immaterial. Introducing the actual 57 generations in Luke chapter 3 is the statement in Luke chapter 3 verse 23 that Jesus was 30 years of age. It is thereby hinted that the 30 should be added to the 57 which follows, thus giving a total of 87. Then we should compare the 87 to the actual 41 in Matthew chapter 1, and that gives a difference of 46. 46 was Jesus Christ in small numbering, as when in the Gospel of John, the Jews tell Jesus that the temple was being built for 46 years. But Piso had an even more pertinent reason for using this involved method to secretly insert 46 in connection with 41. He was hinting that we should put the two numbers together as 41:46 and then find that verse in Genesis. When we do that, we find the verse which recites that Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh in Egypt, by secretly thus hinting at Genesis 41:46. Piso was teasing that the chapter and verse in Genesis was the source for his idea to make Jesus 30 years of age. He was saying,
Mommy, look.
Mommy, look.
When I got some pizza, I throw my trash away.
Very good. Thank you for cleaning up after yourself, Tootie baby.
And this.
And that. Thank you very much. Okay. He was saying that the Old Testament story of Joseph was the source of his idea to use the Joseph story, that is, many elements in it, as redone by him for Jesus' life and the idea to remake himself as a fictional Joseph, that is, Josephus, a purportedly Jewish historian, and also to insert himself as all the Josephs in the New Testament. Okay. So the following is a chart of the 3 numbering systems explained above. I'm going to show it to you. And it goes from alpha all the way to the omega. It gives you the pronunciation of it, like we see in English. The next column is number 1, the small numbers. Number 2, the initial system. And number 3, the sequence system. And in those columns is the numbers for these letters and what they add up to be, right? So I'm gonna just show you the chart, right? Instead of reading it. Okay, hold on. So you got the alpha, the A, that's how it's pronounced. In the first numbering system, it would equal to this a number. The second, the initial system, it would be 1. And in the third sequence system, it would be that. Going all the way down to omega. Remember, omega is the last letter in the Greek alphabet. And then you see down here, it would be the O. The small number system, it would be 8. And the initial system, it will be 800. And then the sequence system, it will represent 24. Does that look backwards to y'all? It looks backwards to me. Y'all might be able to see that. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to show it over here to Facebook. Okay. Oh, no. Back it up some. Okay. Can y'all see that? Might have a screenshot it so you can see it if you ain't got the book. Yes! But I think this is also in the PDF. So like I said, I'm going to attach the PDF again to this so y'all can actually go through it. But remember, the PDF has 5 book pages missing from it, which is why we're reading through this again with all the pages in here, right? Okay. So we'll be at an hour, 30 minutes. Okay, I think we'll pause right here. We'll pause right here. So we'll come back tomorrow and we'll finish this chart. We probably won't finish this tomorrow. Maybe not. Okay, y'all. So it may take us a little more than 2 days this time. I'm almost certain now it's gonna take us. Seeing the point where I stopped at today. So we'll probably get through this in 3 or 4 days. Okay. Let's see, Omicron at number 7. Nice catch, Ben Naphtali. Look. My mama said the other day, she said, girl, she said, you seen a new variant? She said, they're going to try and milk this thing to the very end. I said, ain't they though? So, but yeah, Omicron, it's in there right here. So y'all can see that. Okay. And over here on Facebook. Right there. Okay. All right, y'all. So we'll pick this back up here tomorrow. I hope y'all enjoyed it. And that was up to page 7.
Mommy.
Yes, babe.
Why your microwave keeps stopping?
Well, you probably not putting enough time on it. You put it on 10 seconds. You trying to put it on a minute? Okay. You put 1 and then you hit a 0. But if you want to just, because if you're going to type in all the numbers, you got to get all the numbers. And you only put in 10 seconds. But if you want to just hit one number, just hit 1 and hit start. And it'll automatically know that you're talking about a minute. So hit 1 and hit start. But don't press anything else. Hit 1. Press 1. Now press start. There you go. By default. No, because you put in 10. If you want to go for a minute, you needed to add the other 0. But it's programmed, like short form program. So if you hit 1, that's automatically a minute.
This keeps stopping.
It's not stopping now, is it? Okay. To the baby, we about to end this. We about to do the blessing. Okay. Why waste the crisis? That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. America never wastes a good crisis, right? They just Y'all been living here long enough to know that.
What's we look
And
like?
those that not, you can probably see America on the news enough to
What's we
know
look like?
they up to shenanigans all the time,
Mommy,
right? Yes, babe.
What's we look like?
That's what who look like.
No, we.
You saying we look like this?
No. I mean, we look like family.
Oh, me and you look like family. Yes.
And him.
See, that's what I was talking about. We don't look like this little fox here. Although it looks like our eyes are the same color, but our eyes are really a brown. You got to put it in light to see, though. When you get in good light, you can see.
Mommy.
Really? Your daughter and son-in-law went to Norfolk State?
Mom.
Okay.
Mommy, good idea.
Okay.
And
About to end this, baby.
him was golden. Guess what?
What?
Him glow.
Shout out to Bella and Isaiah. Yes, I've said shout out to y'all.
Mommy.
Say hey.
Mom.
Yes.
Look. You put some gold on him. Guess what?
What?
You can put it in the dark.
You can. Are you gonna glow in the dark? Okay. All right, beautiful people.
Mom, I
It is
told
Saturday.
you.
Yep, go get it, boo. Go get it and come back. It is Saturday. We are looking for the new moon tonight, right? Keep it out if you're out there. If you out there looking, so the Sabbath will rotate back to Saturday. So those of you that still worshiping or observing the Sabbath on Saturday, by default, we all gonna be observing the Sabbath on this Saturday. If we spot the new moon tonight, right? So whatever day we spot the new moon on, we know the Sabbath. It doesn't shift, but according to our mind and how we learned everything, according to the Gregorian calendar,
Mommy.
we need to shift it,
Mommy.
right, to keep it on its
Mom.
keep it on its right day.
Mommy.
But it never changes. It's
Mom.
always the same. Yes, babe.
My fox eating some cheese.
Your fox eating some cheese. Okay, very good.
Mommy, what's fox eat?
I don't know what foxes eat. Apparently, your fox is eating cheese.
Fox?
Trina said, hey. She said, what's up, Bells? You talking? Next time you see me, we're going to have a better conversation, okay?
Okay.
She said, okay. All right, y'all. It is Saturday, December the 4th, 2021. Day 318 of year 3. I'm reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 986. Today we started the book of Proverbs, and we read Proverbs chapter 1 through 3, and then we started rereading again so we can get the missing pages, the authorship of the New Testament, and we read pages 1 through 7. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and do the blessing. Remember, I'm going still share with y'all the little marriage blurb from Egypt and the Egyptian marriages and stuff, right? Okay. I'm going to share that with you. I got to pull it out, but I got to get it from my my digital version of the book where I highlighted it. I can go right to it. Okay. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do the blessing. Did you celebrate the Sabbath on yesterday? Yes, we celebrated the Sabbath yesterday. Yesterday was the last Sabbath for this moon cycle, this moon period, Gil. So it was Friday. So this new one, when it comes, it'll rotate to Saturday. And I think the one after that, it goes to Sunday, and then it'll skip Monday and go to Tuesday. Don't quote me on it, but I gotta look through because my pre-calculations and stuff, you know, that's how it does to keep it on its natural, to make our book calendars line up with the clock actually in the sky. I believe that's what it was. I believe that's what it was. So okay, so let's go ahead and do the blessing. Please do a teaching on when to celebrate Sabbath. You know what? I gotta go. I talked about it. I wish I had labeled all my videos where I talked about it, because there's quite a few videos where I talked about it extensively. It's gonna have to take me some time. I mean, I could do another one. But I'm thinking I want to find those clips and put them all together and make it into one video. But it may take a while. It may just be easier just to do another video, right? But then there would be a separate video. And in that video, I want to kind of get right to it. So I want to make sure it's kind of quiet and my children not interrupting me. But yeah, I'll work on putting that together, y'all. There is...
Mommy, the blessing.
Yeah, we're about to do the blessing. Let me think about it, y'all. That way I can pin it. So anytime anybody asks, I'll put it in like the playlist section. So anytime anybody asks, I just like, let's go check out the video. You know, where I take time and go through it. So, all right, I'll do that, y'all.
The blessing.
I die. Okay, we're about to do the blessing now, girl. Don't rush me. Yeah, the Sabbath is debatable among Yasharal. Yes. We debating on everything. We all trying to get it together, y'all. We trying to get it together. Everybody got different pieces. Some of us rather fight than come together and talk about it. But you know, I ain't ready to chop people's heads off because they believe. Bella, would you stop? Because they believe in a little bit different than me at this point. They may never believe like I believe at any point, right? But everybody has their own path to walk. Y'all will lead us and guide us into all truth. And some people go at different paces. They go in different directions in order to get them to what Yahuwah is trying to get them to understand. You know, girl, that is too much.
That's one.
Put that on your lips.
That's wasn't down here.
Yeah, put it on your lips, girl. Yes. Yes, you will, Dan. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's do this blessing.
So look, I did all the blessing.
You did all the blessing.
Up here. Up here. You.
Remember, the blessing is found in Numbers chapter 6.
This.
I was using that to hold my phone up. My glass. Hold on. I'm gonna really have to pull out my what? I got all the camera equipment and stuff, y'all. I don't feel like opening up that box. I bought all this stuff months ago. I got like a whole studio production. I just don't want to go in there and open up the stuff. Then I gotta sit there and I gotta learn how to use it. Yes, babe.
Who gave you a kiss up here?
Nobody gave me a kiss. That was a hug. That's from Adaya. Yes. She said thank you. Okay, y'all. But I'm gonna at least pull that out because it has a light attached to it. So it probably make the background look a little bit brighter too, at least for the recording for Facebook. All right, y'all.
Let's do the blessing.
Yes, let's do the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, Yahuwah will kneel before us presenting gifts, and he will guard us with a hedge of protection. Yahuwah will illuminate the wholeness of his being towards us, bringing order, and he will provide us with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yahuwah will lift up his wholeness of being and look upon us, and he will set in place all we need to be whole and complete. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them.
I already did
All right,
that.
y'all. So that is it for today. I love y'all. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let me go through here. I think people's conversation going back and forth between people up here.
Look.
That's right.
You touch this a burn.
It burn. Okay, you'll be all right, girl.
And I got everything up here.
You did? Okay. Let's see. I'm just making sure I ain't missed nobody's question. There was a lot of stuff that I seen going through here.
Did that scared you?
That scared me.
I scared them. Mommy,
I just saw Ben's comment say, hate JC to the max.
Mommy, that's the end of the video. Mommy, that's the end of the video.
Yeah, I'm about to end the video, girl. Hold on, I'm just double checking. Hold on.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Okay.
And Mama, you know I am in too.
Draw it. Oh, that must have been that. Oh, Gil, I missed your comment. When you said draw it, you was talking about the little symbol for the numbers. I think that's when you left that comment. Oh, What is the name of the book I'm reading from? And I'm a girl, look at that. It is called the hold on, y'all. The True Authorship of the New Testament. And I'm gonna leave the link for y'all, right? And I'm gonna also leave the playlist where when I read through it the first time. So it's called The True Authorship of the New Testament. And it is by, I forgot the gentleman's name. Albillard Ruchlin. But he also, with this, it's also on my playlist. He actually did a video. It's a real old video. It looked like it was done in the 80s, right? Like the 80s, maybe early 90s. And it's 4 different parts. It's really, the video, the whole video, I think is a little over an hour. But they separated the video, so it's like 10-minute increments. And so he actually was teaching a class and he was going through all this. And there was also an older gentleman in there sitting, which I think was the author. The author of this book was actually sitting in the audience. And there was another gentleman who was teaching a class that was bringing out the points of his book. But he's there. I'll share that link with y'all too. So if y'all want to see the original one, you can see that too. So I'll share all that. All right, y'all about to go ahead and get out of here. All right, I love y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Okay. All right, y'all. See y'all tomorrow, bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, girl. Go ahead and end it. And I'll share this stuff, y'all. So give me a few minutes. Girl, go ahead and end it before I end it.
Mommy, I'm trying to end it.
Well, you need to hurry up then so he don't.
Let's say get out the video.
Con. Girl, just end the video. You was talking about him. You want me to end it?
I'm not joining.
Isaiah trying to say hi. Y'all can go ahead and get out of here. Y'all ain't gotta watch the shenanigans.
I'm ending it.
Shalom. Shalomama.
I'm still leaving. I hate you, Zay.
No, I want to finish.